Macron on brink, latest photos show police firing tear gas at yellow vest protesters. Paris police fired water cannon and tear gas to repel yellow vest demonstrators around the Arc de Triomphe monument on Saturday in the 9th straight weekend of protests against French President Emmanuel Macron's economic reforms. On the same day similar protests erupted in London. Thousands also marched noisily but peacefully through the Grand Boulevard's shopping area in northern Paris, close to where a major gas explosion in a bakery killed 2 firefighters and injured nearly 50 people early on Saturday, with police saying this weekend's protests were larger than last Saturday's. Central Paris was in lockdown against another feared eruption of violence by radical elements in the Gilets Jaunes, Yellow Vest, movement, with bridges across the Seine River closed and official buildings such as Parliament and the Élysée presidential palace protected by police barriers. Groups of protesters also gathered on and around Paris's famous Champs-Élysées Boulevard, the scene of disturbances in recent weeks, many of them calling loudly for Macron to resign. "Macron, we are going to tear down your place," one banner read. Around the 19th century Arc de Triomphe at the top of the Champs-Élysées, riot police unleashed water cannon and tear gas at militant yellow vest protesters after being pelted with stones and paint, witnesses said. More than 50 people were arrested, some for carrying objects that could be used as weapons. The Interior Ministry estimated that there were a maximum of about 84,000 demonstrators nationwide on Saturday, more than the 50,000 counted last week but well below the record 282,000 estimated on November 17, the first day of the protests. In Paris, the ministry counted 8,000 demonstrators, more than in the past 2 weekends, when authorities tallied just 3,500 people on January 5 and only 800 on December 29. Much of central Paris was in lockdown on the first week of post-Christmas sales, with bridges across the Seine River closed and official buildings such as Parliament and the Élysée presidential palace protected by police barriers. In Paris, 156 Gilets Jaunes, Yellow Vest, protesters were arrested, some for carrying objects that could be used as weapons, police said. As of 2000 GMT, 108 remained in custody. Nationwide, 244 people had been arrested, of which 201 remained in custody. By nightfall, there had been no looting or burning of cars as seen in previous weeks and traffic circulation had resumed around the Arc de Triomphe area. There were also thousands of marchers in the cities of Bordeaux and Toulon in southern France as well as Strasbourg in the east and the central city of Bourges, where dramatic pictures showed cars set on fire and flares thrown. Bourges authorities said nearly 5,000 yellow vests stuck to the designated demonstration area but another 500 had pushed into the city center that was off limits for demonstrators. Many businesses in Bourges had boarded themselves up to avoid damage from protesters and authorities had removed street furniture and building site materials that could be used for barricades. In Strasbourg, up to 2,000 demonstrators gathered in front of the European Parliament building and later marched to the center of the city on the Rhine River border with Germany. Protesters set garbage bins ablaze and police fired a few tear gas grenades, but no serious violence or looting was reported. More than 80,000 police were on duty for the protests nationwide, including 5,000 in Paris. The yellow vests take their name from the high-visibility jackets they wear at road barricades and on the street. The rage stems from a squeeze on household incomes and a belief that Macron, a former investment banker regarded as close to big business, is indifferent to their hardships. Mr. Macron, often criticized for monarchical manner, is to launch a national debate on January 15 to try to mollify the yellow vest protesters, whose unrest has shaken his administration. The debate, to be held on the internet and in town halls, will focus on 4 themes: taxes, green energy, institutional reform and citizenship. But aides to Macron have said changing the course of Macron's reforms aimed at liberalizing the economy will be off limits. In London, Clashes between pro-Brexit Yellow Vests and anti-Brexit protesters broke out in Trafalgar Square, with reports of both sides calling each other Nazis. Social media reported fights between anti-Brexit supporters and pro-Brexit supporters on social media during the Britain is Broken march at Trafalgar Square. Anti-racism organization Help Not Hate tweeted, "Looks like there's been at least one arrest after a group of far-right protesters broke away from the main group and tried to confront left-wing protesters in Trafalgar Square. The police intervened to stop them and the far-right got physical."